a fair start. And it is Raymond Stewart with a start. It is Ben Johnson with a start. Can Carl catch him? No! It's Ben Johnson! Ben Johnson does it!
On September 24, 1988, in Seoul, South Korea, the entire world is watching the Olympic Games. The 100-meter final is about to begin. The two best sprinters in the world, the American Carl Lewis and the Canadian Ben Johnson, are facing off in this spectacular event. When the gun goes off, one man explodes out of the blocks, faster than everyone else. He looks untouchable. 9 seconds and 79 hundredths later, the clock stops. World record, Olympic gold. A new legend is born. His name is Ben Johnson. But what no one knows yet is that this victory is already over. Because this is not only the story of speed, it's the story of pressure, obsession, and one of the most brutal falls in sports history. At 60 years old, Ben Johnson is just a normal child growing up in Jamaica in a modest family. He is quiet and shy, not the kind of kid who seeks attention. He plays outside and runs with other children simply for fun. At that age, running is not a dream or a goal, it's just freedom. At 9 years old, something begins to stand out. At school, Ben runs faster than the other kids and wins most of the races in the playground. Adults notice it, but they don't see it as anything special. Ben himself doesn't feel special either. He's fast, yes, but no one imagines what this speed will one day become. At 14, his life changes completely. His family leaves Jamaica and moves to Canada, settling in Toronto. For Ben, it's a brutal shock. The cold, the language, the culture, and the way people look at him make him feel like a stranger everywhere. At school, he barely speaks. He watches, he listens, and he keeps everything inside. So he runs, not to win and not to impress anyone, but to release pressure, to forget, and to breathe. At 16, running becomes more than an escape. His physical education teachers notice something obvious. Ben Johnson is abnormally fast. He beats his classmates without even trying. He is sent to an athletics club where he discovers structured training, repetition, and discipline. For the first time in his life, Ben receives recognition. On the track field, he feels like he finally exists. At 18, the dream begins to take shape. Ben realizes that athletics could become a real career. He accepts the sacrifices that come with it: intense training, fatigue, and pain. He starts watching the Olympic Games differently now. One name keeps coming back in his mind: Carl Lewis, the best sprinter in the world, the man to beat. At 21, Ben enters the real world of elite sports. He joins the Canadian national team and competes internationally for the first time. He quickly learns a harsh truth: talent alone is not enough. The sprint world is ruthless. Every hundredth of a second matters, and every mistake has consequences. In 1984, at 23 years old, Ben Johnson competes in the Los Angeles Olympic Games. He reaches the final of the 100 meters and finishes third, winning the bronze medal. The crowd applauds, but Ben is not satisfied. He watches Carl Lewis standing on the top step of the podium, and in that exact moment, he makes a silent promise to himself: never again second, never again third. Between the ages of 24 and 25, the pressure becomes overwhelming. Canada wants a champion. The media follows him everywhere. Expectations continue to rise. Ben no longer runs just to win, he runs to meet expectations, to avoid disappointments, and above all, to beat Carl Lewis. The joy slowly disappears, and performance becomes an obsession. At 26, Ben Johnson's body changes. He becomes bigger, stronger, and more powerful. His starts are explosive, and he begins beating Carl Lewis regularly. In 1987, he becomes world champion in the 100 meters. To the world, he looks ready. To Canada, he is the future Olympic hero. At 27, Everything leads to one moment, the Seoul Olympic Games in 1988, the 100-meter final. The stadium is full, and the entire planet is watching. The gun fires, and Ben Johnson launches forward like a rocket. He separates himself from the others almost instantly. Before even crossing the finish line, he raises his fist. The time flashes on the screen. In 9.79 seconds. World record, Olympic gold. For a few hours, Ben Johnson is the fastest man in history. Then everything collapses. Just days later, the doping test results come back positive. His medal is taken away, his world record is erased. Carl Lewis is awarded the gold medal. Ben Johnson goes from national hero to a global symbol of cheating.
Ben Johnson would not have been in the finals. He probably would not have been on the Olympic team had he not taken steroids. And the steroids made that much of an impact over a 7-year period in his career. So we're talking about someone who went from possibly 50 or 60th in the world to #1 in the world, setting world records.
Between the ages of 28 and 30, he tries to make a comeback. He confesses and talks about pressure, the system, and the environment around him. But he tests positive again. This time, it's over. He is banned for life. Ben Johnson disappears from the track fields, but his name never disappears from history. Not as a champion, but as a warning. Because he was the fastest man in the world for only 9 seconds. Ben Johnson won the race, but he lost his name. Because in sports, cheating can make you win for a moment, but the truth always wins in the end. Thank you for watching.